What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice podcast. We're your hosts, Aunt Ma,
Christina Ma,
and we've been uploading on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio, Castbox, anywhere you guys listen to podcast platforms. We upload every week on Wednesday at 6 a.m. Pacific. Whoa. Perfect for the time when you guys wake up in the morning for work and you're going to drive in traffic. Our podcast is already uploaded for you guys. We also upload 15-minute, 20-minute episodes on YouTube from Wednesday to Mondays. So I hope you guys enjoy those shorter clips. Let us know what you think about them in the comments below. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about a lot of self-reflect and how we are right now in our 30s. Are we happy with how everything turned out? Because, you know, in our teens, I would say even 14s to 18s, we thought a lot about how our life would be when we're older, right? We thought about how many kids we're going to have, what kind of house we're going to have, when we're going to get married, how much money would you have at a certain age, all these things, right? We had this perfect life painted when we were young. And I want to talk about if we got there or not. Okay. And if you're happy with where we are.
So I would say some things that I had envisioned when I was in my 20s or maybe even younger.
Yeah.
But one thing that I knew I would envision is that I would be married.
Yeah. At what age?
I thought I was going to get married at 25 and have kids. Yeah.
That's what everybody thinks, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're like 15 years old, everyone thinks in like your mid 20s.
Yeah. Because you think 25 because that's when my parents were already married and they had kids.
Yeah.
So you think that 25 is like that perfect age where you're old enough to have all of that, which I mean, you can be, but I think in our time, I felt like 25 was like just the beginning of like finding ourselves and exploring and traveling and just like really getting out there.
I don't even think I met you yet at 25.
No.
But I think looking back, 25 is like the prime age. That was my prime athleticism. The prime start of when I started understanding life, really, and started maturing, understanding businesses and what I need to do with money. Like that's when everything just started evolving at 25. That's why I say that's my prime.
I feel like that's like when your life is just beginning.
That's when you become an adult.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess you weren't too far off because when you are, you when you're in high school and you're like, I'm gonna get married at 25, I think it's because you think you're gonna be an adult at 25. That's true. That's like the first step when you first start realizing I need to do adult things.
Yeah, and I think before too, like especially with my parents, I felt like their priorities were a little bit different. Like it wasn't as fast paced as things are now. So their priority was getting married first, having kids, having a house. And then kind of going from there, like it wasn't so much of like, oh, I need a profession. I need to like work on my career.
Well, it's different. The mindset and the competitiveness is different from our immigrant parents.
Exactly.
Right. So when our parents immigrated to the US, they're like, how are we going to make a living? Let's open up a business and let's just make a living so we can make money for our family.
Right.
That's it. For us, as you know, second generation, we're like, okay, how do I get to the best school? How do I get the best position at this company? How do I get the best of, because our parents already solidified our foundation with survival.
Right.
So it's no longer survival. Now it's compete.
How can we do better than what we have?
Exactly. So that's why the mentality is different. Yeah. So at 25, what did you say you thought?
I thought I would be married with kids already.
Yeah. How many kids?
I always pictured 2.
Oh, really?
I always knew I wanted 2 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anytime you would ask me like, oh, do you want to try again or are you pregnant? Or, I'm like, no, I stopped at 2.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no.
You never even told me that.
Yeah, I just always knew that I wanted to. And I think we've always talked about it. Like what would happen, because we always wanted a boy and a girl, right? Which we are so lucky that we got it. But we always would talk about, what if the second child is a girl? Are we going to try for that third? Are we going to try for a boy? And I was just always like, no, I don't want to go more than 2.
I definitely thought we would keep trying as much as possible until the boy came.
Oh, no. I think it's different for me though, because I'm the one who has to like give up my body. And, you know, as with getting older too, like it just became more of a risk of trying to have like a third kid. But I already just stopped it there. Like it didn't really get past that.
I think I always thought about having 3 to 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was me as my younger self.
No. How old were you when you started thinking about that stuff?
I think high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense actually, because you seem like when we first started dating, you kind of fell in it really quickly and rather hard.
What?
Like you were so committed when we first started going out, and I think you seemed so mature and so ready to settle down and to want to get married, where like we only dated for 2 years, right? Was it 2 years before you proposed to me?
I think I just had my life figured out.
Okay.
Or at least what I thought I had my life figured out, right? I'm like, shit, I'm finally making some good money. I got a couple businesses. Now I can buy a home. Like, I'm like, okay, next step, married, kids. Like, I'm ready. You know, like my personal goals, I'm getting there.
Right.
So I think that's why I was like a lot faster and more mature.
Yeah, because I think we just talked about this recently too, where, you know, I said, what made you decide to like propose so soon, and what made you decide that you wanted to get married? Because if you never proposed to me, I don't think I would have ever like pressured you into getting married that quickly, or like proposing or anything like that. So I just like try to think back about it. I'm like, oh, I wonder when we would have actually gotten married if that never happened so quickly.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like you pressured me to be your boyfriend.
No, I never pressured you. No.
Yeah, you did.
How did I pressure you?
Because you would stay at my house.
Oh,
and sleep over at my house.
Yeah.
And I was at the point where I was like, wait, hold up. I'm not looking for a girlfriend right now. I don't need you to sleep over every day. Like, I've done that in the past. I don't need that right now. And then you got offended, like, so where am I going to sleep then? And I'm just like, I don't know. Not here.
I think I just like the companionship.
Yeah,
it
but
wasn't
I didn't want that at the time.
Yeah,
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to get into a relationship either. I just liked having the company.
Okay, but to me, that is pressure of having a girlfriend. Why else would you be there? You know what I mean?
Just
like,
to hang out.
Why do I be there
so
all the
different.
time?
I didn't even know that. That's so funny.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to do things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still trying at 25, or well, now you're at 28 and like, or 27, something like that. And you're still trying to focus on yourself and your growth. Like, I didn't want a distraction at the moment. I'm like, I'm finally free from all of my long-term relationships. I just want to focus.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was just trying to have fun.
Oh my gosh. All right. So
I never do that about you.
yeah. One thing that I thought about when I was young was I had a goal for myself. And, I think it was like, I wanted my home and I wanted my family before 30.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay. Got it. So you had a timeline that you were trying to follow.
I had a timeline, yeah. Because I know when I wanted to retire, how much money I wanted to have and things like that, you know? So I think, man, even the jobs that I have now, I never thought I would have had.
Okay.
Let me think back what I wanted to do in high school. In high school, okay, one thing was I wanted to be a cop.
I feel like I almost considered that before too.
Yeah, and then I was like, after meeting cops and getting in trouble with the law and seeing how like big of, you know, asses cops are, I was like, I don't want to be a cop anymore.
Yeah, but I feel like that also ties into like what they have to go through, like in their day-to-day lives.
And I wanted to, and then there's a point when I wanted to be a cop, and I was like, I wanted to be a cop to talk shit to cops and be like, fuck you, you racist.
I feel like that's hard to do though. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do, to prove them all wrong. And then eventually I was like, man, fuck all cops.
You would be that outsider, the one out of like, I don't know, 30.
I was like, it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, forget it. Even the Asian cops are assholes and racist. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, forget about it.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, when I got to like, you know, 18, 19 and I signed up for a police academy and stuff, I was like,
You actually
forget
signed
it.
up for it.
I signed up for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My mom went with me to the first class and everything.
And she was okay with it too? Like she actually wanted you to do it?
She has so many cop friends.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why when I meet her cop friends, I'm like, you're not a cool person.
Uh-oh.
You know? But so what else did I want to be in high school? I mean,
I think when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher. Like the more that we're thinking back about like where we wanted to be in our careers, I think I always wanted to be in a field where I was helping people. But if it wasn't that, I always wanted to like be some kind of performer. Like we've talked about it before. I've always wanted to get into singing or like some kind of performing arts.
yeah.
So that was always like a passion for me. But growing up in an immigrant Asian household, I was always told like that it wasn't like a lucrative job. It wasn't practical.
But it's not about the money.
Yeah, but back then, like that wasn't, I guess we didn't have the freedom to think that way because my parents came from nothing. So to them, they had that survival mindset where it was like, well, we just have to do what we have to do. You have to make the best choices and you need to make more money so that you can provide for your family and be a good wife.
At that age, when they're talking to you about things like that, did you have a job?
I don't remember. I feel like this is...
Okay, what was your first job?
I worked at McDonald's.
Okay, and that's not a lot of money. What was your second job?
Was it a lot of money? I don't remember. I feel like I was working at a radiology office.
Was that a lot of money?
It was pretty decent.
Like, what do you make a year?
Well, at that time I was 18, and I think so, around there. I was really young still, and I was still in school, and I was making maybe I want to say like 15 to 18 an hour, which was a lot.
What is that in a year?
That was a lot at a time. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Like, I don't know how to process this. I'm trying to calculate like how much you make in a year so I can figure out if it was worth it for you to have that for a year or not.
Oh, I mean, from personal experience, I would say that it wasn't worth it because at that time, when you're that young, like minimum wage around that time was maybe like anywhere from 8 to 10 an hour. So if I was making $5 to $8 more than minimum wage, that was a lot to me.
Yeah, I think what I'm just trying to say is like, if you, let's say you're making like 30 grand a year, okay? Is that enough money for, like, your parents are like, wow, you're making so much money. Good job. This is what I want you to do for the rest of your life. You know, or like now knowing 20 years later, you're like, what's 30 grand a year? I could have been chasing my dreams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it was worth it for me because at that time, like I mentioned, I was still going to school. So that's one thing that I kind of regret doing was because the money was so good to me. I think it maybe comes out to like 36,000 minimum a year.
Yeah.
And I was so into my work because I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm making so much money. I'm being independent. I'm taking care of myself. I don't have to worry about anything. But at the same time, I was taking on double shifts. My shifts were graveyard shifts also.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing that and trying to go to school. Like I would work, sometimes I would take an extra shift if someone was calling out sick. So I would be working from 5 p.m. to like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning. Like I would take on a 12-hour shift and then I would have class at like 8 in the morning. And I was really like sacrificing school to focus on making money because I was like trying to hustle then.
Yeah.
But I was burning out already, you know, and I put school on the back burner and eventually like I dropped out of school for a little while. And I didn't realize how hard it would be to try to get back into the school system. Like once you drop out and you try to go back in, like it's really hard because it's so competitive. So if I can go back to that time, like I probably wouldn't have put in so much effort and like dedicated myself to that kind of job. Like I learned a lot from it, but it was kind of like a meaningless job at the same time. I was just looking at the paycheck.
I think, and so what were you doing with, like you're making good money at that age. What were you doing with your money?
I was saving it for a car.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I had cars from my parents, like really old cars. I had a Camry, a Toyota Camry at one point, and there was a Toyota Cressida. And I wanted to be able to get my own car. Those cars were like passed down from uncle to aunt to me. And it was just like not what I wanted. So I was just working like mainly towards that and like for school and stuff.
So I think one lesson here is that a lot of kids, when they make money, they think about, now I can save money to buy a car.
Yeah.
Or I can save money to buy something for myself. Right. Whether it's a computer or whatever. But what no one ever tells us is save your money for something better.
Right? What is better?
Like I was making money too. Like I had 3 jobs. And I was making money just to go out, just to go to Vegas and party, just to go to a club, just to go on a date, things like that. See. Okay. Right. So I was spending money to live.
Right. For experiences.
Right. But instead, I wish I saved my money to buy the house, to buy things to start my foundation.
Right.
Things like that.
I feel like a lot of people don't think about that when you're that age, unless you have like a partner that you've been with for a really long time. And like you said, and you're ready to move on to the next level.
But I wonder why our parents never taught us that.
I just feel like the priorities were different. And then because everyone's goals are different and like the lifestyle is different. So,
you know what I think it is? I think because when they're living in Asia and they're like, I want to go to America and live the American dream.
Right.
And I want freedom. And so when I have kids, I want my kids to have freedom. Mm-hmm. And so that's what it was. Like their goal was met.
That's true.
That was it. Like we're going to school, we graduated high school. Now we're making money. They can do whatever they want. That's freedom. But instead they could be like, look, this is what you need to do. You need to buy a house. You need to get this kind of job. You need to follow this path, things like that. But they didn't teach any of that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe they're just trying to give us space to figure things out on our own. And then once we figure it out, then they just kind of support us towards whatever goals we wanted.
I think that's what's wrong. That's such a long amount of years to figure it out because those X amount of years is just fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if that's wasted years that I wish I never did,
And I feel like a lot of the people that we talk to who are successful, it's because their parents kind of almost built that foundation for them.
Right.
Whether it's financially or they just like set them up early in a sense where they prepared them mentally, like as to what to look for.
Yeah.
And I wish I had that growing up. But, my parents didn't start realizing things and understanding things until they got much older. And I was already old enough to figure things out on my own. So we're kind of like almost learning the same things at the same time, even though there's like that huge age gap.
So I guess with everything that we spoke about and the things that you wanted to be when you're a kid to what you have now, are you happy? Would you do things over again?
That is a really good question because I feel like we did everything that we needed to. Like we traveled a lot. We had a lot of fun, while we were younger. In terms of career, I think that's the one thing for me that I feel like I still am trying to figure out because like we just went through a huge transition, but me especially because I went to school and got a degree in business, right? And it was like emphasized towards human resources, which I went to school for, and I was doing pretty well. Like I would say I was a pretty successful HR manager. And I think once I stopped that and then I kind of put my life on pause or my career to take care of the kids. Now, after like 3 years, I'm kind of coming back into it and kind of questioning things, right? Like, this is what I went to school for, spent all this time and money, and I have my degree. But now I'm like, is that what I want to do now? Do I want to go back into that field or do I want to do something different? So for me, I feel like I'm there in a lot of other parts of my life. But when it comes to my career, like I'm just figuring it out all over again.
I was going to ask, would you do over your career and your major and things like that? But it sounds like you still don't know what you want to do right now.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't even do it over.
Yeah, so I think like even if I, maybe I would have still stayed in HR, but maybe more towards like recruiting, because that was like my goal when I first got into it.
Boring.
What do you mean? I wanted to help people find jobs, and I wanted to place, it's hard to find a job that fits you. So I wanted to be able to help people to figure out like that, to bridge that gap.
That's where I like to do things differently. Like if you're like, okay, I want to help people find a job, my mentality goes straight into, okay, how do I start a nonprofit to see how I can help people get jobs? And then how am I going to get income from the nonprofit to have this work out, to pay people to help me and things like that. Like that's where my mind goes instantly.
Yeah. And I think it really depends on your upbringing, because with my family, it was so ingrained in our brains that, just get a job, get something secure, work for the government, work for somebody.
Wait, but that's the same as me. My mom and dad would say the same thing. But my dad was a business owner his whole life, but they would ingrain that in me. Your parents were also business owners your whole life, and they ingrained that in you. But our mentalities are still completely different.
That's true. Yeah, I just feel like going to school, I already had that mindset. Like I already had this like, the American dream. I'm going to go to college, get my degree, work in an office, work a 9-to-5 job. And then like that was my life. And I was okay with that. But once I actually experienced it, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. But you know what it is too? Like if we never got into YouTube and social media and did all of that stuff, I would have probably still had a normal corporate job and I would have been okay. So
really?
So I think it's because I was exposed to like this side of life and being an entrepreneur and like kind of working for myself that I started to be okay getting into this life. Like I never even imagined myself doing this.
Me neither.
Yeah, like either it's so funny because you're saying that like our perspectives are so different, but it was either that I would be in a conservative workplace in an office, or I just wanted to be like a singer. It was just so completely different. Yeah. And I felt like being...
Okay, so right now, would you want to go back and redo that all and just be a singer?
I wish I could have done something more creative and done something for myself that I was more passionate about, because growing up, I was just so into music all the time. I was, I had like a Walkman and a CD player, and I was so into listening to all these different things and all these different genres. I was just so into that. And I was, like when we would have talent shows at school, or there would be shows, like I would be the first one to sign up. Like I would sing in front of people and try out. And I was like doing dances, like I was doing like cheer, and I was doing all these things that were like just more fit for my personality.
And now you're the last person to sign up for something like that.
Yeah, because I'm just so like, I get so shy. Like before, I just wish that confidence that I had before was there and that strong, like when I was younger. But I feel like as you get older, you kind of get more in touch with reality, and then you start taking all of these things into consideration, and then you're starting to think about, well, what's more realistic? What should I do? And then you kind of like detach yourself from that kind of life.
I think that's just you.
Maybe, I don't know. But if I've had my parents tell me my whole life, like, that's not what you should be doing. Even though they were the ones who had karaoke, and I used to karaoke with them all the time. And even when I first applied to school, to college, my degree was, I was an arts major because I wanted to get into like singing or dancing. Yeah. And then I changed it because my parents were like, oh, like, what are you doing? And that's when I just changed it to HR.
So I think what I've learned from this episode is don't listen to your parents. Follow your own aspirations, because it's your life where you need your own meaning and to fulfill your life. So if you have, if you are your younger self right now, if you're in your 20s and you've had these aspirations of trying to do something, do that. Okay. Do that, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say don't listen to your parents. Take in what they say lightly.
Don't listen to them.
but really think about your own life too and what's going to make you happy, because in the end, like, it's your life, you're the one that's living it, so you might as well be enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I just mean, listen to your parents, listen to your friends, listen to this old guy, listen to this old lady, listen to everybody, and pick bits and pieces from everyone,
right,
and put it together, and now go live your life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Love and Rice, and we'll see you on the next one.